as an engineer, I think that's the bias you have. You think about yourself as the designer, and then you think about your user. And for you, there's only two people in the world, yourself who's the designer, and second is your user. But to actually make a successful business, you have to think of at least 10 other stakeholders minimum. Once you see the impact, and if you can see, okay, if I make it this big, it's actually going to change these many lives. And the second order effect is people will accept blind people as an integral part of society. And the third order is economies will boom because you have just that many more contributing members, and so on and so forth. So once you actually think about it, it felt like a no-brainer. If you stumble upon information like this, what are you going to do? Not do it? And then they had this mini Shark Tank event. Like, that's actually what they called it. So I pitched for 1 minute, and everyone's like politely nodding along. And then Anand Mahindra started clapping. And he said, I love your idea, I'll invest in you.
You must be thinking another pre-roll? Wait, let me just skip it. With AltUni, there are some boring things which you can avoid, like the long wait for promotions or increments, or the numerous interviews before you land your dream job. At AltUni, we make sure that you're future ready and skilled to be in the top 0.5% class. Click on the link in the description now.
Without further ado, I call upon stage Sanskriti Dawle here, who's the co-founder of Thinkerbell Labs, which we are going to know more about. There you go. Sanskriti, please have a seat. Sanskriti, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Super. We are glad to have you, Sanskriti. Let's start the conversation now. Tell me a little bit about the kind of person that you are, Sanskriti. You know, we all see the outcome, we all see the product that is visible to people. What we don't see is the kind of person who is working in that product, right? So, who was Sanskriti like? What was your growing up days, formative years like, if I have to ask you?
In my childhood, I was one of those few people that actually liked studying. So my days as a student in school were excellent, except that it set expectations from everyone else to be like, oh, she's a studious person, so she will follow these norms and lines, etc. in life. Growing up, I've appeared like a very rule-following kind of person simply because my interests aligned that way. I loved reading. I was a quiet child. I mostly kept to myself, very talkative, but only with close friends, things like that. And I actually chose engineering because I wanted to.
Wow.
I had a...
That's very rare, Sanskriti. Let me tell you, that's very rare that happens. Yeah.
I realized how rare that was, like, when I got to college, because, you know, when you're young, you're kind of not really exposed to a wide variety of ideas or ways of thought. And in engineering college, you can find the whole wide world. Everyone who doesn't want to be there is also there.
Let me ask you this. You said that you were a studious kind. You knew that what you wanted to do in life, which is very rare because, when you are in your 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard, you usually try to figure out what I'm good at, what exactly is my interest. Maths karna hai ki nahi karna hai is the most clarity that you get in life. For you, were there people that you drew inspiration from in your family? There was somebody who you looked up to and said that this is the career that I want?
Definitely my parents. They're both entrepreneurs. They're both engineers. And I just thought that that's what people do. They study engineering. And I think in our house also we realized, because my sister, she is a designer. So for her, I'm sure the experience was very, very different. But for me, it was just, okay, yeah, you become an engineer, then you run a company. Yeah, that's what you do in life. So I've had great role models there.
When you were deciding that you want to do an engineering, right? Why did not you, gun for an IIT or something? Did it not work, or you wanted to be in the engineering institute that you are in, right?
I mean, definitely was gunning for an IIT.
So what happened? I mean, how did it not work for you? I mean, was it just the scores or something went off?
So, to be honest, I liked mathematics. And the closest thing to maths, I mean, specifically discrete maths, is actually computer science. And I was also a KVPY awardee, which is Kishore Vaigyanik Protsahan Yojana, which actually gives you a very hefty scholarship if you go in to study the basic sciences. So I actually had an admit from IISc, everything set. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do this. And I But the one thing KVPY did for me is that they hosted a bunch of camps, and through those camps, we had very senior scientists of the country who would come and say things to us like, look at the magic of science. It's all about discovery and the sheer uncertainty of it all. And as someone in class 11, I heard that, and it really scared me. I was like, wow, I don't think I like that at all. I do not want to spend 14 years of my life doing something only to be disproved because someone else thought up a better theory or something like that. So I had a great time exploring different programs. If any of you knows anyone in class 11 or something like that, please do tell them to apply to KVPY. It's a brilliant program to encourage future scientists. But what it gave me was clarity that I did not want to be a scientist. And that is what drove my decision for going into engineering. So when it came to the IIT rank, I think my rank was some 6,300. But I wasn't getting computer science, which is the stream I wanted.
Sanskriti, tell me a little bit about that life. बहुत studious थे आप, and you had a goal in mind. That was pretty sure. Scholarship करके गए थे आप. While you were at BITS Pilani, what was that life like? I mean, how did it all start for you?
So in BITS, we have a zero attendance policy where they don't make attendance mandatory, which means you can do anything, which is both the best and worst thing in the world. You can choose to do absolutely nothing and you'll get by. Or you could do anything you wanted, and that's also there. I think BITS is really great in that it gives you a lot of freedom. Any college that gives you that degree of freedom, I think, is worth.
So how did you use your time? What exactly were the things that you were interested in and wanted to do and you did?
Drama club, literary and debate club, and like a lot of very, very unrelated things that I did in my first year because I really wanted to try everything.
How did you find that, the curriculum that you're having, the academic curriculum that you have, along with the things that it offers you, is going to make you a person who can devise something new?
I think with respect to tech development or things like that, BITS always has had a very strong culture. So our seniors, our alumni are someone we can always approach for things like this. And that's what actually happened in 2014. In fact, I went to BITS Hyderabad for the first time for alumni summit. And I had a very rough prototype and just an idea. And I just printed out 100 A4 pages with a short summary of what I was trying to do. And there were alumni from all over the world who came and looked at a 20-year-old with some idea and some cardboard box with wires at that point and said, you know what, send me an email, I'll see what I can do. So I actually came to Bangalore in 2014 to meet, I think, the head of Eureka Forbes, because he saw me in some conference and he thought a 20-year-old engineer with an idea can actually make it into a company. So it's that belief that people have in you also that takes you very far, I think. And I've been incredibly privileged to have such kind of people around me.
Thinkerbell Lab has 4 CEOs, right? Three co-founders. Yeah. Did you meet them while you were at BITS Pilani, or
yes,
a few
I
of them
did.
joined later?
So, well, we were sitting in a lecture and we were playing Mother of Tic-Tac-Toe, which is a 9x9 grid with 9 different...
यार games भी कितने difficult खेल रहे सोचो, मतलब थोड़ा simple कुछ.
It looks like a Sudoku board, okay, where you're playing...
Again, a nightmare.
You're playing 9 different tic-tac-toes, which are games in themselves, but you're also playing a giant game. And my teacher, she spotted us laughing, and she made all 3 of us stand up. And she was like, you are distracting, you're distracting those boys. You come sit in here in the front row and things like that. So that is where I met my co-founders. Like, they were both sitting next to me, Aman and Dilip. My 4th co-founder, Saif. This is a very fun story. So all our early prototypes, like I said, were in cardboard boxes. And at one point, we made the transition to storing all our electronics in a tiffin box that we would make holes on the sides of for the wires to go in and come out with a hot knife. And we thought, my God, that is such a great upgrade from the instability of a cardboard box. And at some point we realized that, okay, I simply cannot find tiffin boxes that are properly designed to hold everything I want them to. So Aman put up a Facebook post saying, I'm looking for a mechanical engineer to join our team. We are doing something like this. And it was just something we're doing out of interest. But there was a first year kid who came in, and we met him at Monchini's on campus, and that was Saif, and now we're co-founders.
You were working on the prototype. You were thinking that कुछ तो बन जाएगा. Tiffin boxes तक आ गए थे आप. What exactly was the prototype that you guys were working on, and how? At what point did you think that अच्छा अब तो कुछ serious बन रहा है ऐसा लग रहा है?
One of those, it was basically one Braille cell. The dots rose and fell in line with the alphabet song, just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, just that much. So it was a toy kind of thing, right? And we did it to see if we could do it. That's just how we got started, to see, can I actually make this whole system work? And the inspiration was a 7-segment display, which you see on clocks. So clocks have typically a 7-segment layout for each digit, and by figuring out which segments light up or not, you can see things like 1, 2, 3, 5, G, basement. If you can code that, then you can make a clock, you can make a lift display. And this is, by the way, something that every engineering college teaches students, how to make a 7-segment display.
1 second. Engineers, all of you guys read this? Oh wow, lovely.
So what I thought next, so okay, if I can do this, what else can I do? And it had, I admit, the boon and the curse of extremely limited knowledge. So the next thing I wanted to do was control a Braille cell, because Braille also has 6 dots that you set to one of 2 states, and you can represent information.
Right.
And to be able to do that on a cardboard-sized computer was amazing. But I mean, well, I thought, I'm saying it myself, but I thought it was amazing. And so did Guido van Rossum, the founder of Python. We were at PyCon presenting this, and it was a very bulky prototype. It had a lead-acid battery powering the dots. But yeah, when we took this to a school in Hyderabad, I mean, we'd been testing with, getting feedback from NAB in Goa. But when we took this to a school in Hyderabad,
NAB in Goa is?
National Association for the Blind.
Blinds.
We'd been getting feedback to learn about basics of Braille and things like that. But when we actually took it to this school in Hyderabad, there was a girl, Sharon, she must have been 10 or 11 years old maybe, and she was playing with this alphabet toy for like hours and hours, and she kept playing with, like, we had requested her to be pulled out of class to play. So she's learning something that people learn in 5th standard, right, in her classroom. And here she's being pulled out to play with an ABC toy. And she loved it so much, she wouldn't let go of it till the end of the day, till her mom came to pick her up. And when and she was quiet for the whole day, she was very, very possessive about playing with this prototype. And when her mom came to pick her up, she went off chattering excitedly about how much she liked it, how much she loved it, which was honestly very odd, because I didn't expect that she would love it so much. So we tried to figure out why. And one thing led to another, and all of us were at LV Prasad Eye Institute, and we were learning Braille ourselves. What we did was we basically sat in a class that was happening for another girl, and we just sat there. And the teacher said, okay, you know what, you're sighted. If you want to learn Braille, you need to blindfold yourself first. So we did that. And then we realized that the process of learning Braille is incredibly hard. It's so hard, it's isolating. And with 4 of us that had joined the little girl in her lesson, she was getting 1/5 of attention from her teacher that she normally gets. Because the way Braille is taught, you only learn when the teacher is holding your hand. I think that trip to Hyderabad was absolutely transformative in terms of how we looked at what we were building, how what we thought the impact of that could be. And I would say working directly with users and seeing that impact happen. One, it's a huge impact if you've seen the before and after.
Right.
And it's been the reason why we got our lead investor, because he actually took the time to visit a blind school with us, see how they learn, see how students were responding to even a very rough prototype. And once you see the impact, and if you can see, okay, if I make it this big, it's actually going to change these many lives. And the second order effect is people will accept blind people as an integral part of society. And the third order is economies will boom because you have just that many more contributing members, and so on and so forth. So once you actually think about it, it felt like a no-brainer. If you stumble upon information like this, what are you going to do? Not do it?
And you mentioned about the lead investor. Who was this lead investor?
This was Rajesh Navneetam. He's also based in Bangalore, in HSR actually.
Right.
And he visited, at the time that we were pitching to Indian Angel Network, I was in the UK. I was trying to work with Royal National Institute for the Blind to, make sure our product design and our ecosystem design were internationally suitable. And so my co-founders, Aman and Dilip, they went to pitch to the IIN meeting. And I met Rajesh yesterday, and he said, yeah, two little kids had come saying something about a box and teaching the blind something, whatever. But Rajesh was intrigued enough to actually go to Ramana Maharshi School, which is in JP Nagar. And when he went there, he sort of saw it for himself, and he said, you guys, you have a great idea, but you have terrible communication. So then he sat with us, and he helped us flesh out, everything that we had in mind and how to present it.
When he says terrible communication, were you guys too jargon heavy at that point in time, or you guys did not go
I feel like
through
this is a
the
loaded
heads?
question. I think it was because we were too much in our own perspective and not enough, I mean, as an engineer, I think that's the bias you have. You think about yourself as the designer, and then you think about your user. And for you, there's only two people in the world, yourself who's the designer, and second is your user. But to actually make a successful business, you have to think of at least 10 other stakeholders minimum. And you need to be able to, show people what's in it for them. Why should they care about what you have to say? Why should you be interested?
When did the Anand Mahindra show interest to what you guys were doing? What was that story like?
We were in college, and we were in our final semester. And we were applying for all kinds of competitions and B-plan events and things like that, because they usually have some sort of cash prize, and we needed that money for continuing our prototyping, setting up a company, etc. And we applied to one such competition, which was called Great Tech Rocket Ships by UK Department of International Trade. We were in the final round for that, and I wasn't getting permission from my warden to take leave. So I ended up just walking out of college and taking a bus to Mumbai. And I just called my parents and said, look, I've gone out, and my warden is going to call you at some point, but it is for work. And they're like, you're a student, you don't have work yet. And I'm like, yes, but I am saying this for a serious reason, so please back me up, okay. And I finally made it to Mumbai, and I did a pitch in front of a panel. But one of the people on the panel, they were coordinating this visit by some VIPs from the UK. So I get a call a week later saying, hey, there's a VIP visit to Mumbai, and we want you to showcase your technology. So I said, great. And we all of us were, working nights, like literally 24, 48 hours. We'd just keep working. And we actually managed to improve our prototype between the first presentation and the next one, and we were so proud of ourselves. And when I reached there, I was like so proud, saying, look, this is our new product. And they're like, oh yeah, we have extremely VIP people, guests coming over, and everything went well, and they asked me to explain what I did, etc. And then at the end, they're like, of course, this is just a prototype. This is not what you're presenting, right? And the event is 3 weeks away. And I say, yeah, of course, this is not what I'm going to present. And I call these guys up, and I'm like, guys, what are we going to do? Somehow, over 3 weeks, we got help from an industrial designer, and it's unheard of, but we managed to turn the prototype around. So
In
there
3
we were,
weeks?
in 3 weeks.
Wow. The prototype, was it still the tiffin box, or it improved?
Oh, no, it was much better.
Ah, okay.
But in 3 weeks, we had a beautiful looking prototype, and I think the Annie of today still kind of looks pretty much like the Annie of that day. There are 4 exhibits in that event. One is ourselves, we're showing a Braille teaching device, right? And the other is a dosa making machine. And then there's, I forget what the third thing was, but the fourth one was Anand Mahindra, who's showcasing his F1 simulator to
Wow.
Prince Williams. And that was mind-blowing. And then they had this mini Shark Tank event. Like, that's actually what they called it. And we had 1 minute to pitch our ideas. So there were 4 startups. So we were a part of that also. And so I pitched for 1 minute, and everyone's like politely nodding along. And then Anand Mahindra started clapping. And he said, I love your idea, I'll invest in you. And I think it's really that, it takes me back to that first point, where just being lucky to have people around me who believe in the most outrageous growth in the future. Whether it's
Right.
investors, whether it's founders, co-founders, my colleagues that I work with, or even our early adopters and users and partners all over the world. There are 2 ways to respond to crazy ideas. One is, hey, that's crazy, that's never going to happen. And the second is, hey, that's crazy, come, let's do it together. And I've been very lucky to find the second type.
Superb.
We live in a period of time where you will face sexist people. So, if you make it your job to change everyone's mind saying, I'll show you, I'll prove you wrong, you'll spend your entire life and you'll affect 5, 10, 15 people. But your life will be happier if you find the people that already believe in you and who don't think of you as any lesser because you're a woman. The next year, we actually got feedback from that school that enrollment had increased because people in the surrounding villages had heard कि हाँ अंधे बच्चों के लिए कुछ technology लगाई है government ने तो अब हम बच्चे को भेज सकते हैं. So children that were just sitting at home and they were just kept at home, and people thought, what is the point of sending this child to school anyway? Parents had gotten their blind children to enroll them in the school because they saw a future for their child, they saw a hope.
You must be thinking another pre-roll? Wait, let me just skip it. With AltUni, there are some boring things which you can avoid, like the long wait for promotions or increments or the numerous interviews before you land your dream job. At AltUni, we make sure that you're future ready and skilled to be in the top 0.5% class. Click on the link in the description now.